Hello everyone, this is Korean Danny. Today I'm starting a brand new series where I explore everyday transportation in the Philippines and compare it directly with Korea. Instead of just talking about prices and convenience, I want to experience them myself and show you what it actually feels like to ride. The mission for this episode is simple but fun, with the same amount of money, 1,000 Korean won, or about 40 Philippine pesos. How far can I really go? In Korea, that usually covers a bus ride or a subway trip within the city. But in the Philippines, there are several options: the colorful jeepney, the small but practical tricycle, and the busy MRT trains that cut across Metro Manila. Each has its own unique atmosphere, rules, and level of comfort. Before I jump in, let me give a quick preview. The jeepney is not just a vehicle, but a symbol of Filipino culture, brightly painted, loud, and full of energy. The tricycle is the go-to ride for short distances through narrow streets, where bigger vehicles cannot pass, and the MRT is the closest system to what Koreans know as a subway, though the experience can be very different. In this journey, I will pay attention to three things: the cost, the time it takes, and the comfort level compared to buses and subways back in Korea. I'll ride, film, and then calculate how far the money really took me. At the end, I'll also compare it side by side with Korean public transport to see which country gives you more distance and value for the same budget. So that's today's challenge: 1,001 on the streets of Manila versus 1,001 in Seoul. Which one will win in terms of distance, convenience, and overall experience? Let's find out. The first stop on my journey is the jeepney, probably the most iconic form of transportation in the Philippines. From a distance, you can already spot it by its bright colors, shiny chrome decorations, and bold artwork painted across the body. Each jeepney is personalized, often with names, slogans, or religious messages written across the windshield. For locals, this is just an everyday ride, but for foreigners like me, it feels almost like stepping into a moving piece of art. Getting on a jeepney is simple, but very different from what I'm used to in Korea. There are no ticket machines or transportation cards. Instead, you climb in through the back, sit on one of the two long benches facing each other, and hand your cash to the driver or sometimes to the passenger next to you, who then passes it forward. This chain of trust is fascinating. With just 10 to 20 pesos, you can ride several kilometers, making it one of the cheapest transport options in the city. Inside, the experience is raw and communal. The seats are close together, so you are shoulder to shoulder with strangers. There is no air conditioning, only open windows that let in the tropical heat and the sound of traffic. Compared to the quiet and climate-controlled buses or subways in Seoul, the jeepney feels noisy, chaotic, but full of life. Conversations, music, and street noise all blend into the ride. As we move through the streets, I notice how practical this system is. Jeepneys stop almost anywhere. Just tap the roof or call out para when you want to get off. It is flexible and convenient for daily commuters, though it can be confusing for first-timers who don't know the routes. By the time I step out, I realize that with less than 500 won, I've traveled farther than I expected. It's cheap, direct, and deeply tied to local culture. But comfort and predictability? That's where Korean transport still has the edge. After the jeepney, my next ride is the tricycle, a three-wheeled motorbike with a sidecar attached. At first glance, it looks small and improvised, but in many towns and neighborhoods across the Philippines, this is the lifeline of daily transportation. Unlike jeepneys that follow long routes on main roads, tricycles are designed for short distances, especially through narrow streets where cars or buses can't reach. Getting into a tricycle is an experience in itself. The sidecar is compact, often built for 2 or 3 passengers, but sometimes even more people squeeze in. As I fold myself into the small space, I immediately notice how close everything feels compared to Korean taxis or buses. There's little room to stretch, and you can hear the engine rumbling right beside you. The ride is noisy, bumpy, and exposed to the tropical heat, yet it feels personal and adventurous. The cost depends on the distance and location, usually 15 to 30 pesos for a short ride. That means with 1,001, you can easily take several trips within a neighborhood. This makes the tricycle extremely practical for errands, school commutes, or quick visits to nearby shops. As we weave through traffic, I notice its strength flexibility. The driver can take shortcuts, pass through alleyways, and drop passengers exactly where they want to go. This level of convenience is something buses and subways in Korea cannot offer. But at the same time, the lack of safety features, inconsistent pricing, and the rough ride make it far from comfortable. When I step out, I realize that the tricycle is not just transport, it's part of community life. Drivers often know their passengers, and rides feel more like a shared neighborhood service than a formal system. It may not compete with Korea's efficiency or comfort, but it delivers accessibility that suits the local environment perfectly. The final leg of my Filipino transport journey is the MRT, or Metro Rail Transit. At first it looks familiar: ticket booths, turnstiles, and trains running on elevated tracks, just like a subway in Seoul. But once I step inside the station, I quickly realize the experience is very different. Buying a ticket is straightforward but slower than in Korea. Instead of tapping a transportation card like T-Money, you often need to line up and purchase a single-use ticket. The fare is still inexpensive, usually 15 to 30 pesos depending on distance, which means my 1,001 budget can cover several trips. But the waiting lines themselves can take time, especially during rush hours. When the train arrives, the real challenge begins: the crowd. Trains are often packed, and passengers squeeze into every available space. Air conditioning works, but with so many people inside, the ride feels hot and cramped. Compared to the quiet and climate-controlled subways of Seoul, this is a completely different level of intensity. As the MRT speeds through Metro Manila, I notice the city views from the elevated tracks, rooftops, billboards, and endless traffic jams below. It's a striking reminder of why the MRT is important. It bypasses gridlocked roads and saves time. Even if the trains are crowded, many commuters rely on it as the fastest option. From a Korean perspective, the MRT feels less predictable. Trains may be delayed, schedules are less precise, and comfort is limited. But the affordability and ability to skip traffic make it a powerful tool for city life. Stepping out of the station, I realize that for the price of one Korean subway ride, I've already crossed a significant part of Manila. That alone proves the MRT is essential, even with its flaws. After experiencing jeepneys, tricycles, and the MRT, it's time to return to something more familiar: Korean buses and subways. At first glance, they look far more modern and orderly, but the contrast becomes sharper after my rides in the Philippines. Let's start with the bus. In Korea, buses arrive at fixed intervals, usually displayed on digital signboards at each stop. Payment is simple: just tap your T-Money card or even your smartphone. The system automatically calculates transfers, so one card can take you from bus to subway and back again without hassle. Seats are comfortable. Air conditioning is standard. Although buses can be crowded, the experience feels structured and predictable. The subway takes it one step further. Seoul's system is known for being one of the most advanced in the world. Trains run on time almost down to the minute. Stations are clean, and there's free Wi-Fi everywhere. Even long rides are comfortable, with clear announcements, electronic displays, and climate control. For 1,001, I can travel across entire districts, sometimes transferring multiple times without paying extra. Compared to the Philippines, Korea's system wins in reliability and comfort. You know exactly when the train will arrive, how long the ride will take, and where to transfer. The downside is cost fares are higher than jeepneys or tricycles, and the atmosphere can sometimes feel impersonal. People usually ride in silence, unlike the more social vibe of Philippine transport. In short, Korea offers efficiency and predictability, while the Philippines offers affordability and a sense of community. Both reflect the cultures they serve. After completing all the rides, it's time to compare them side by side. With the same 1,001, or about 40 pesos, the experience in each country feels completely different. In the Philippines, the jeepney gave me the longest distance for the lowest price, but it came with noise, heat, and unpredictable stops. The tricycle offered unmatched flexibility, weaving through alleys and dropping me right at my destination, though it was cramped and less safe. The MRT moved faster than road traffic, but overcrowding and delays reduced comfort. Together, they showed me a transport system that is affordable and deeply woven into daily community life. In Korea, the bus and subway felt like the opposite: reliable, structured, and efficient. The technology, digital signboards, card systems, transfer discounts, and clean facilities makes traveling stress-free. Yet the cost is higher, and the atmosphere less social. People ride in silence, and there is little of the human interaction I felt in Philippine transport. So, which one wins? If the measure is value for money, the Philippines stretches your budget further. If the measure is comfort and reliability, Korea is unmatched. The real answer depends on what you value more: efficiency or connection. To wrap up, I'll leave a question for the viewers. If you had 1,001 in your pocket, would you rather ride in Seoul or Manila? Let me know in the comments. This concludes today's journey, but there are more comparisons ahead. Next time, I'll test another everyday experience that shows the real difference between life in Korea and the Philippines. Stay tuned.